Hello, and welcome to another wonderful episode of Submitted for Your Approval, the weekly card review show for Collective, the community-created card game where you make the cards. I am joined today by my faithful co-host, Grief.
Howdy, folks. This time I didn't oversleep.
Yeah, it's so nice to have you back, and I am also joined today by my scholarly co-host, Empty Folder.
Hello, everyone.
Okay, so let's jump straight into it with the accepted submissions. These cards are already in the game, so you can put them in decks. So if you like making decks, maybe check these cards out. Starting with Messenger of Light, which is a 2-drop neutral, 2/1 angel from nowhere in particular, with flying, fast, and summon, draw an angel from your deck. I really do like the interestingness and versatility of this. First of all, a 2-drop, 2/1 flyer is pretty cool. But also this does have some potential as it'll either draw a copy of itself, which gives it some like CA replacement. You could just use it as an aggro type tool, or you could perhaps use this to build up the angel archetype. And I know we've been talking about how some people have been pushing for this for a while, and I'm glad to see it got some new support. Grief, what do you think of this card?
It's just all around decent. It's a 2 neutral card. It's flying, as fast, so you can actually change it into other angels that you want to run, or into multiple copies of these, depending if you have enough mana or the cost is reduced enough. So that's at least funny. But yeah, just using it as a tree-off in a deck, even if you don't run an angel shell, this is just fine because it just fits your deck. And yeah, having innate evasion is just good. Overall, as I said, decent card.
Yeah, and if you can get up enough mana in a Nomad Painter, you can just use this to cycle a bunch of copies of it, and you just, play it, draw it, play it, draw it. Empty, what do you think of this?
Yeah, this is just a good filler card. Helps bring the angel archetype one step closer to being a thing.
Plus, I'm always excited to see Entropic get a new design in the game. Entropic and I are special buddies. We know what's up. Me and him are pretty cool. Let's move on to Digitail. Is a 5-drop strength 4/4 dragon software from Uplink with flying, and this is Mind If You Are. Entrance, draw a card. It costs 1 less for each allied dragon in play. So this plays into the software, dragon, cost reduction, caring about the top of your deck. Mind flyers, strength flyers. Again, collective, due to its very nature, encourages cards to be super versatile. I absolutely love seeing Spike return to pixel art. That was one of the things that we first saw him get into when he started making cards, and seeing the return of that, it warms my heart, because this is still pixel art, but it's also informed by his new style and some of the other techniques he picked up along the way. And it's absolutely lovely. It feels like it's on a CRTV or something like that. Grief, what do you think of this?
It's a software dragon. I learned to love software as a tribe, and the cards that I designed for that tribe. Overall, this just is a good card filler, considering that, okay, it's a 5/5 that draws your card, reduces its cost for each allied dragon, at least 1 in this case, because of the entrance counting itself. And it's versatile, considering that you can run it either in Mind or in Strength, so whatever you want to build, if it's a software dedicated deck, which already is Mind Strength based, or if you're running it in Dragon, if you're running it for the old Dragon, etc., etc., you can basically run it in whatever kind of Dragon based shell you want, or software based shell, because it does benefit from that.
I mean, it works fine in just flyers, to be honest. I do think, I don't know, I want to see the return of more Blink designs. And so this excites me, but I want to see like the actual cards that do the blinking engine and help you get more payoff out of this, because that could be really crazy with some of that.
If Blink ever becomes a thing again, then this is not really the card you want to run, considering that it's at the very top end of your curve, and you get way better effects usually on way cheaper cards.
Is Python an entrance effect?
It's a summon, if I remember correctly.
Oh, it is a summon.
Yeah.
Yeah, that does like really limit what you can do with this.
Empty, what do you think of this design?
I really like this design as well. I think like immediately it'll find a home in the 5-cost Dragons deck, which I think is going to still be around post rotation. There's that one legendary, I can't remember the name, that this is like a supernatural fit in. You could either set up your payoff on top of your deck. Yeah, that's the one. And then draw into it. Or obviously this is like a 5 or less cost dragon that you can just grab out. And then for software, like Python is really strong. What the deck needs is like literally anything with the software tribe. You will run it just for the tribe because that cost prediction is just that good. You don't really need any other reason to run it. So yeah, I think it's a really good versatile option.
The Plasma Pits is a 3-drop neutral 0/3 place from Mortstall, Realm of the Dead Things, with can't attack and end of turn deal 1 damage to this and all units that attacked this turn. So really, really flavorful, sort of potentially interesting, what do you call it? Sort of a stacks type design. I love that we got a unit that deals damage to a bunch of units at once in the style of the one Terrador place kind of thing. Fun stuff with this. Obviously, it plays really nicely in with like pain shenanigans like that. If you could find a way to slap lifelink on that, that's obviously cute. If you could find a way to slap this almost reminds me of like mass. Like I want to just get something that has like a big sleigh payoff and mass it over or something like that. But of course that's probably more single player jank. Empty, what do you think of this?
Yeah, so we've actually seen like a big rise in aggro decks recently. So we're in a really good position for people to make anti-aggro cards. I think this one is a bit weak just because it only really works against one strategy, which is like Bullock really low to the ground swarm, which isn't even like the best aggro deck right now. And then it's kind of overcosted for its effect. There is like some neat interactions, like you said, with giving this life bond. But the one that I'd really want to do is like to give this deadly and really shut down the board. But of course you can't do that because it pings itself and it will self-suicide. So I think it's going to be tough to find a good place for it.
Yeah, I almost wish there was like if there's something akin to like a Cloak of Ivy type effect where if it dealt damage it gained HP or like some sort of like shenanigans like that would make this really fun. Grief, what do you think of this?
As a stacks player who loves these kinds of effects and how you basically want to say no to your opponent with a hard control stacks pieces, I utterly hate this card. It's utter garbage. Because of the simple fact that it is limited by dealing fucking damage to itself. Already you got demonetized. But yeah, this thing is like, I would love this more if it didn't deal damage to itself. It was meant to have no self-damage, but someone complained enough that it was actually put on top of that. And so the cool interactions with Deadly are out of the question. Corrupted Lands is rotating out. So that's out of the question. So basically, yeah, self-damage is important. Just give it 1 HP. No, this card is utter garbage for 3 mana, regardless of it's neutral, if it's whatever, if it shuts down certain control decks. You never really run it, or you really run it only for the case that, okay, I'll have it there as a pseudo fog until there's an actual good fog or a better unit that does the same shit, but better and can attack or something similar to that. This card is garbage.
I like to make a pitch. If anyone is looking to update this, to buff this a little bit, to keep in the spirit of what's currently doing, but maybe a little bit different. It's currently in a text crunch state, but we could obviously bump its rarity if we were to update it. Deal 1 damage to all units that attack this turn. If any attacked, deal 1 damage to this. Or find a way to maybe if a unit attack this turn, then do its effect.
That's basically the same thing that is right now there, just with more words.
Well, but that way people can't. Well, I guess people can like choose not to attack and just see this thing kill itself. But that would put that off limits.
It doesn't really change the use case very much or bump it up at all.
Basically, this is a garbage card.
If the damage was removed completely, like that would open things up.
So sad, so sad. Restore the Ranks is a 2-drop neutral action from Walnocked with choose up to 4 cards from your graveyard to put on top of your deck. If this gets milled, put it in your hand. Another card that's in my Magic the Gathering cube that I really, really like. There's 2 cards that do it. Grave Purge is one, and then there's the Eldraine version of it. Let this thing draw a card. Like, I think that's what it... Well, people are very hesitant about Reanimator. This is already kind of bad compared to like some of the few reanimation tools we do have. This thing needs to, at the very least, draw a card. Probably a little bit more than that. Grief, what do you think of this?
I think the draw effect was omitted due to it being mill or self-mill protected. So that's cute, I guess. It's fine. It's a neutral card. Should probably cost 1. The only reason why you really want to run this is either when mill becomes an actual meta game again, meta content again. So you have this you get a bonus out of it when it is milled, so you can easily run it, get a +1 out of it. Or if you're running a Grave Source combo deck, where you just hardcore mill, build this card, get it back into your hand, put your combo pieces on top of your deck, and that's it. Outside of these use cases, this basically does nothing.
Yeah, and I think that's I could see maybe the argument for like lowering the cost by 1. I think this needs to draw. I think the if this gets milled effect is really cool. I think it should stay. I think this needs to draw a card. Because of just how, I mean, yeah, if you're running combo, but this is still even pretty slow for that, isn't it?
Personally, I said, just make it 1 cost, probably fine. Then you have at least this card will probably, as I said, never really see play besides combo decks and as a mill counter. So I think that's fine to have occasionally in the, not everything has to be multi-useful.
Yeah, I don't know. I see the same problem you are and disagree on the solution. Empty, what do you think of this?
I mean, this is basically irrelevant in standard. There's almost no mill, and you're really only running this card when you have like a whole bunch of things with when this is milled triggers, so that you can set up the top of your deck and then mill a few cards and get them again. Like, we're miles away from that deck being a thing again. So yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's sitting at like 0, which is sad, and I wanted it to do better, but I don't know. Okay, the Verstai Expedient is a 3-drop mine 6/4 psychic aberration from Versalt with ward and summon, discount a chosen card in enemy hand by 2. As a big fan of sort of the units with the drawback, like I tried to pitch for the Kaiju, never really worked out. I really do like this idea of an overcurve unit with a drawback that you could potentially turn into a benefit. So Empty, I'm going to let you start off by telling me like kind of the design process behind this card.
Yeah, so this is another sort of backbone card for the realm. It's just like an overcurve unit that lets you take advantage of all like the cost manipulation you've been doing with your opponent's hand. Maybe you've set it up so they have something that costs 1 or 0. And then the discount isn't really an issue. Or maybe you've increased the cost of something by a whole bunch so they can't play it and would never play it anyway. And then you bump the cost down a little bit so it's still not good to play, but not to the point where like you're reverting what you've already done. And then on top of that, like a lot of the units on Versalt are pretty weak. So this is a good card to sort of flush out your board and let you get in some damage while you're controlling the enemy hand.
Yeah, so I really like this design, and I kind of see what the use case is. And so I was kind of wondering more with the issues that other people potentially had with it. Because even without the case of like bumping costs of a bunch of things, this already has one really great matchup in the form of Pearl Maw. And I'm sure people could find a lot of other use cases for it where it didn't really matter that the cost of something was being reduced. So
that could be why people are downvoting it, is that in Proma it's pretty free. I thought it would be fine, mostly because there's cards that like mess with Proma way worse than this.
Yeah.
But yeah, that could be a reason.
Yeah, well, yeah, it was like this art. I was thinking people were worried the card was too weak, and it already has a great matchup and it has a lot of creative use cases, but maybe it's not the right time. Grief, what do you think?
Okay, how does this mess with Permo?
You'd pick a doubloon for the cost reduction, and it's basically meaningless. Like you're just getting a 3-mana 6/4.
So it's a good match.
Okay, so you mean just because I was like, okay, this is a discount effect. Like you probably hit a doubloon and it's free. I thought like there was some weird ass shenanigans where it would actually affect tokens again. No, I thought okay, no. In that case, yeah, okay, that's one matchup. Cute. Have you ever heard of dwarves? Reducing their own mana, maximum mana to basically 0 to cheat out an entire bolt and either die in an explosion or blow you up in turn 2.
Yeah,
that is cute. That has multiple good matchups. This reduces a cost. This is a hard 3-cost card that reduces card in your opponent's hand by 2. Okay, you can as a permo have an occasional 0-cost card in hand, or even in the occasional matchup where a token costs 0, whatever. In normal play, this is not a good drawback. Because most of the time you're probably hitting a 3 or a 2-cost card, occasionally a 4. So Additionally, sure, this is a very strong unit. Maybe could lose 1 attack value or 1 defense value because of the innate ward, but outside of that, this thing needs a shell to actually work.
So you think people are downvoting it because it doesn't have a home yet, which is what I was thinking.
No, the thing is more like it's a mix of different reaction. Probably a lack of home, probably overestimating its power level, sometimes maybe underestimating. It's just the usual voting. Like, let's be honest.
Okay. Okie dokie then. And now, for the Doragon Guandao is a 3-drop spirit equipment from Yamato with give an ally +2 attack, then lower another unit's attack down to target's attack. I thought this was so cute and so clever. I mean, it obviously has good matchups and bad matchups, but like, it was interesting and different. At the very, very least, you could use this to do some like creative ward popping in a deck that needs it. And at the very, very most, you can use this to like take a Voltron type style deck and then like just sweep it from the knees while still gaining a little bit of board presence. So, of course, I'm not very versed with power levels, so I'm guessing it's mostly a power level issue. Grief, what do you think of this?
Is this card good? Question mark.
Apparently not. It's got 0 votes. I'm wondering what the power level issue is. I thought the effect was really cool and creative.
Dude, you're putting this probably on any kind of word target, meaning that yeah, sure, you're increasing its attack by 2. In worst case scenario, you're targeting one attack unit. It's now a 3 attack unit. Now you are lowering another target's attack value down to 3. The fuck? What target? Like, when there's something that powerful that you need a band-aid fix that is a pseudo damage reduction, then you're still pretty much in a lose scenario. You're doing basically going -1 to mildly inconvenience most of the cards.
I think this card is worded really weird. So
the thing how this card works is like you're giving one target +2. Then another unit on the entire board is lowered down to the same attack value of your first target.
That's not how it works in blocks.
That's not how it works.
No, the other unit that you choose gets minus attack equal to your initial target's attack. It's like not worded correctly. So if you target like a 1/1, that goes up to 3 attack, and you lower something else by 3 attack. You can get stuff down to 0 attack with this.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, then this is a complete.
See, I thought it
wording
worked the way
mistake.
Grief said. And I
Me
thought
too.
that was still interesting.
I thought it was really weird.
That.
Like, the
Oh,
effect is, yeah.
they probably meant to make it the difference between its attack and target's attack.
That's not down to, but by.
Yeah, that was.
Oh. At that point, yeah, that's cute, but why at 3 cost?
Okay, so I think this. Well, because I was on the lab suggesting a fix to that wording, but I guess I was confused even by the original suggestion, or maybe they just blocked it wrong. Okay, so well, we know kind of what the issue was, so I guess we solved what the problem we were here to solve. Let's move on. So yeah, talk to us in card labs. I'll help lab that. I'll try and get the other guys in. Harvest Reaper is a 3-drop spirit 3/3 Spectre plant golem from nowhere in particular. With when you play a plant, you gain +3 HP. When you play a Spectre, draw and discard a card, and when you play a golem, give it +1/+1. I think that, oh boy, this is cute. I don't know how I missed this. This is really adorable. This gives me warm, fuzzy feelings inside. It's got Hanoi's like new style, which I'm vibing with it enough. I kind of wish this thing, like, I feel like there's realms for this, but maybe that's me being crazy. Grief, what do you think of this?
I love this kind of lord. We've been liking these kinds of mechanical lords for a while now for multi tribes, and this just hits the right spot. I think the votes already reflect that correctly. How people really enjoy this kind of a word effect, because yeah, regardless of what you're doing, this is just a spirit lord. Are you playing plants? Gain HP. Are you playing specters? Get a loot effect, which is very strong. The quirkiest, cute part about this card is the golem claws. Like, golems aren't really a thing yet. We are step by step getting there, but this is just a cute. Okay, what the fuck are golems doing? Here, stat buff. I mean, you can't go wrong with that.
I think they have the math. I think they don't have the synergy.
They don't have synergy at all. And
yeah, they don't have synergy, but they do have the math. Like, if you wanted to build a golem deck, you would have.
The thing is like math is kind of questionable considering the power level of different golem cards.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say that they have the math either. Especially
yeah, maybe not the balance.
Because
curve.
they're all over the place as well, and affinities and whatever.
So maybe we can fill that out. I think that's interesting.
I mean, this is just cute. Even regardless of what the golems are doing, this is just a cute little effect for them as well. Overall, love the card. Could need a bit more contrast on the art.
Yeah, I think that the art needed some contrast. I'm vibing with it with the color pencils. It's the colors work is a little eh. MT, what do you think?
I really love this card as well. It's a really nice synergy payoff, and there's a lot of oak cards that overlap with like multiple of these tribes. So it's going to be really easy to take advantage of like multiple of these benefits, no matter what deck you're running.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, overall pretty cool. People
wait a second, no, wait a second. All scarecrows are now specter golems, aren't they?
Yeah, they are.
Oh my god, we can.
I think there's only like one in standard, but yeah.
We can play legacy scarecrows. Peak collective.
Reform is a 3-drop spirit action from nowhere in particular with discard your hand and draw new cards until your new hand costs more than it did. I really like wheel effects. I really like creative ways to do Grave Source, and I really like this card. This card's a good card. What's it sitting at? Reform is sitting at 8, so that's actually doing pretty good too. MK, what do you think of this?
This is a really weird card. There's definitely some ways that you can like break this, like maybe with Scout, or like some weird cost increase effect to get your hand like super high cost and then draw a ton of cards. But aside from that, just like running this inspectors in order to like cycle out your hand and turn a bunch of high cost stuff into a whole bunch of low cost stuff and get a bunch of discard triggers. Like that's really good too. It's just a really solid wheel effect, and I love the like unique touch that like gets my gears humming. Like, what sort of weird combos can you do with this?
Yeah, filling this with any sort of thing that's discard fodder, and then like using that, beefing up your hand, and then doing stuff. Interacting interestingly, perhaps with any new versatile stuff if it comes out. Grief, what do you think of this?
This card can be extremely crazy or extremely bad, depending on if you are a good deck builder and the type of deck you're actually running with it. Because yeah, sure, you can use this as a discard enabler, a mass discard enabler, which is cool because it also refills your hand. So yeah, specters can benefit from it, especially in a lazy format where you have like very strong discard payoffs. So this could actually work quite well. As long as you have the discard payoffs in your deck, you don't really care of how much this card can with. If you're running a combo or a spell slinger action spam control deck, then yeah, you're basically counting to, okay, I have these and these and these and these cards. Of course, I'm hitting the mass of 7, which we already kind of have in, what's the card that Lyman created? The up to cost 5 that you draw or redraw your hand. Or draw cards until you have hit the cost of 5.
It's like the scientist.
Exactly.
Prana scientist.
This card is kind of this it's an action where you draw as many cards until all the cards you've drawn are either cost 5.
Oh, shocking revelation.
Shocking revelation. This kind of performs in a similar fashion, but is a wheel depending on the cost range of your hand before. So yeah, if you have discard payoffs, this is just added to what you may draw. If you set your hand up to cost like 7 or even as low as 5, you can basically do set up your deck if a lot of 1 or 0 cost cards are in there to just draw them en masse. The weird part about it is, similar to stuff like ad nauseum lines in Magic, if you run a select few cards that cost like more than, well, 3, or in this case, just more reforms than just 1 or 2 copies, you can kind of have the very unlucky draw of, oh yeah, I draw into my reform. My second reform. Cannot draw more cards anymore. You try to actively avoid something that costs more than 2. Even 2 is a very high cost for these kinds of effects. So it's interesting what kind of skill level for deck building you have for specific combo lines.
Yeah, I think the 3 was probably motivated by something akin to like Door to Elsewhere being at 2, but I'm not sure if that's a good argument. I just think that's probably something that motivated it, or it might have been balanced against.
To be honest,
I think I found a good deck for it.
3 is a perfect cost for it because it makes it very awkward to run into itself.
Yeah, if you run this in a Kadar Dream Team, a lot of times you end up with extra Kadars in your hand that you need to discard, and this just nets you a ton of cards off those.
I could also see this as a reanimator setup, technically, where you have like huge costing cards that allow you to just full draw 13. And more to discard more.
Yeah. The Haunting Wraith is a 1-drop neutral 2/1 Spectre for Mordstall, Realm of the Dead Things, with summon, discard a card, and draw a card. Cute little staple unit. I really, really like fluting effects. This is sitting at 11. It's actually doing really, really well. Grief, what do you think of this?
Cool little stable, and this will probably be played in every deck.
Oh yeah, it is neutral.
It's a neutral one-cost looter.
Yeah.
But it's not an offensive universal card in every deck. It's just a one-cost looter that will be run in every deck. Because let's be honest, this will just this is basically saying, oh yeah, for one cost, for 1 mana, I play a smaller deck. You will run it everywhere. It is not very tied to a precondition, and I think it's fine to have these. Issue is this is one of the cards where I probably want to have an affinity on it, but I also can see why it does not. And in all honesty, I think this is really inoffensive, unlike certain other universal staples that were nerfed to stone.
MT, what do you think of this?
Yeah, I mean, like, we have a ton of decks right now that just generate like random garbage in your hands that you can discard to this to get some free card advantage. And then of course, like Specters are losing Lost Lurker, so this is just gonna immediately replace it, which is really nice. It's just a perfectly fine card, a great staple for the format.
Oh, this is a great piece in my deck. I don't know why I didn't think of it. This is a great piece in the one cost Misfits deck, because I can discard undesirable outcomes or debris in the late game. Yeah, I want this in the card pool just because I can randomly get it off those things, and I might even want to main deck it. Yeah,
do they trigger enter? Do they not just create, or do they play one?
There's some of both.
Okay.
There's the one overloaded or there's the one portal that puts 3 in hand.
Okay.
And depending on how you brew it, you could brew some really weird stuff that might do other things.
It's so funny that Divna got in for that pack.
But yeah, so that could work. The Bottle Robber is a 2-drop strength 1/1 demon rogue from Saga with flying and summon, draw a card and gain 2 HP and pain bounce this. Effect wise, super quirky, super cute. Story and Discord wise, I remember Hanoi pitching this realm, Relian, which was going to be like a D&D-esque world where the bad guys were the good guys. So like all of the creatures you saw were like the stereotypical dungeon monsters were doing the community. And then I think that realm just got absorbed into Saga, which I think is a great outcome for all parties as sort of like a sub area or whatever of Saga. Effect wise, this is so cute and so interesting. It's a potential pretty potent draw engine and an HP recovery engine for a pain deck. MT, what do you think of this?
I think it's a really neat design. I do think it's a bit weak though. It's kind of hard to play this over and over again. Like, you're using a lot of mana, and the like drawing a card and gaining 2 HP for 2 mana, that's not very good value. And then on top of that, like, the stats are really bad. It is actually slightly better than the like old version of this, which was 3 mana. But I still think this needs more buffs to be viable, which is unfortunate because I really like the design.
Yeah, I think the cost is good where it's at. I think it needs a stat pointer too. I agree with that assessment. Especially as a flyer, seeing 2 on flyers is always really cute. Grief, what do you think of this?
I could see that is need one more attack point, but overall, this is just a solid card. Sure, if the only complaint is that it is either 1 mana too costly for what it could do. Let's consider it in most other games that aren't collective. This would be probably a 1 mana card. Because of the type of card it is. In collective, sure, this makes sense too. Probably just needs a stat point. But overall, it's just a solid outcome because you can replay this over and over. Sure, at 1 mana, this may be too powerful and probably needs to be bumped, by 2-0 attack at that point, which would be odd, but whatever. But yeah, I just love it. By the way, regarding the Reliant Saga thing, basically I was just the entire idea was pitched to me by Annoy, and I said, sure, why not? It has to do with pen and paper. Knock yourself out, mate.
Yeah, so obviously this hasn't been fully fleshed out, but my headcanon is what was Reliant is now like a sub area of Saga. Because I think that actually opens up some interesting narrative possibilities of, oh, there's just one area where the whole script is flipped. And that could be fun to develop out. If they don't want to do that, that's obviously fine. But I love the, like this Hanoi contrasting to the other art. This art's so much better. I got the nice bit of contrast. You actually have like the characters being characters. You got the little goblin at the bar. You got the beholder-esque looking thing looking at you. The skeleton. I don't know. It's really cute. I want to see this kind of thing fleshed out. Inella Scarlet Scale is a 5-drop strength 5/5 human warrior from Talira with summon, banish the top 5 cards of your deck. If the total cost of cards banished this way was 18 plus, choose and force play a 5 or less cost dragon from your deck. Weird. Just a weird design overall. Things I love about it. The art is pretty interesting, and it seems to be like, if I am reading it correctly, that this is we're opting for like disabled representation, because I'm pretty sure that your Inella only got 1 arm, which I love that. I think that's interesting. A 1-armed dragon warrior, awesome story, awesome character. Effect wise, this seems quirky. Grief, what do you think of this?
Effect-wise, this builds up to be a bombastic card with a payoff that I'm kind of disappointed in.
Mm-hmm.
Because yeah, you have to hit 18 cost and mana to get a 5 cost or less dragon out of it from your deck. That wasn't hit by the effect, because you banished the top 5 cards.
Payoff is definitely super lackluster.
In most cases, and this may sound quite rude, but this is like Firebrand fodder. And that's a very bad use case, a very, very, very fucking bad use case. But that's the only case that I can actually make for it. Where you can banish meta cards with it and overall. But I really wouldn't play this in a dragon deck. Like, sure, you could probably hit the occasional very good target for it, but this just seems so inconsistent for such a lot of payoff. Sure, you're playing technically 5 bodies for 5 mana, which is cool. But this needs a little bit of setup for the top 5 cards. That you at least hit the dragons that you want to, that you don't hit the dragons that you want to summon all of this, and it makes the one-off dragons also kind of risky.
I'm just realizing it was weird because I saw so many JTAD designs back. I thought this was a JTAD design, and then I'm actually like looking at the art for a little bit longer and realizing, why did I think that? This is a Spikebird. It's still very interesting for Talira. I do like that. Empty, what do you think of this?
Yeah, I agree with Brief's assessment of the problems with this card. A lot of the dragon archetype is like, well, what they're supposed to be doing is like setting up the top of their deck, and this just takes the top of your deck and throws it into the banish zone. So it kind of goes against like what you want the deck to be doing, and it fits really naturally into the much less interesting curved dragons deck, where you just play a bunch of big beefy dragons and then win off all the random things. So yeah, I kind of have mixed feelings with the card. I like the idea of having like a payoff card for another payoff card for the 5 cost dragon deck. But I think like maybe changing around the effect so it's not banish and maybe rewards you for deck setup a bit more would be pretty cool.
Could we, if we were interested in maybe keeping the first bit, do we think we can maybe give me a bigger dragon? How big do you think we could make that dragon? Because this could be a good like a ramp cheat strategy. I think that's a good reward.
The thing is, like, this card is extremely fair for what it does. And as I said, it gives you a second body, which you can trigger the summon of, which is very fucking cool. The problem is all the setup and the numbers with the 18 costs and so, like, the numbers on this card sound way too bombastic for the payoff that you're getting. This is just like, let's call it the Grizzlebrand problem. Where everything is a 7, but the cost is an 8. There's like, everything is like top 5 cards, 18 cost, I'm a 5/5/4/5, and I get a 5 cost or less dragon on board. Wait, what?
Speaking of Talira and JTAD, so great to see you back. Double Edge is a 1-drop strength action from Talira with rebound and deal 4 damage to an ally. If this doesn't have rebound, target an enemy instead. But guys, JTAD says, this has to be in strength because you're not going to run this in spirit to get advantage of like the discard thing, or you're not going to pay that 1 cost off affinity. Should I tell him? No. MT, what do you think of this?
So I love this design. Like, this is a super cool idea of having like a card you can pay. It's an installment plan where the first installment is deal damage to one of your own things, and the second one is deal something to an enemy. The problem is this card is like absolutely nuts. And it's really easy to cheat the first part, so that doesn't matter.
Yeah, so I agree that even outside of the Spirit Affinity, this is easy enough to cheat. I mean, we were just looking at the card that's almost certainly getting in this week that does this, right? It is a 1-drop neutral, discard 1, draw 1. Even in strength will now have that tool that takes advantage of this thing.
Yeah, 2 mana, like get a card, deal 4 damage, and get a 2/1. You will run that in every strength deck until the end of time.
Yeah. So even before the existence of this card, there were too many ways to abuse this, and JTAD was determined to keep that 4 on the thing. Okay. So keeping the 4 on the thing, because that was the bit JTAD liked. What does the rest of the card look like, Grief?
So you mean we're talking about a card that should probably cost like 4 mana or 3 mana? Probably 4, considering that this is rebound. Because JTAD, listen, mate, this is better Fireball. This can target any enemy. So it can target face twice.
Your own face the first time.
It has to hit an ally on the first play.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love the whole target changing, but yeah, this is better Fireball. This needs to... 3 sounds good to me. I think 3 would work.
It'd still be really, really good at 3.
Okay. Well, yeah, but I mean, it might be... At that point, it might be slightly bad enough to disincentivize you from running in the Spirit. Oh, no, it doesn't really matter, because who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah. This might need to go to 4.
It's like at 3 damage, it's Fireball with Upside and Spirit still, and you still run that combo we were talking about with the 1-drop Rummage one. That's still like absolutely insane at 3.
It's just so fucking.
I think it should do 2 damage. To be honest, I think at 2 it would be pretty balanced.
Okay. Yeah, it needs a numbers tweak. That 4 might need to go. The target changing idea is really, really cool. The actual implementation is pretty lackluster. But yeah, I really do like the creativity of the design. The creativity of this design is enough to merit a pick. But it's not enough to merit it getting into the game because it just suffered from major balance issues. Also, I do want to take a minute and say that art, though, I like that art. I don't even know necessarily what's going on in it. Like, why is he getting Does he just generate a sword from his chest?
That's the double-edged part. He generates
Yeah.
a sword in his hand and in his chest.
But the one in his chest seems like it would still help him because he could like.
Now maybe he got stabbed by his own. Like this could be some mortification magic spiel where the magic system basically says, okay, harm yourself to create the magic. Then sure, this dude runs a freaking scimitar through his chest. Doesn't die apparently to create a scimitar in his instead of his arm.
Yeah, so like JTAD,
It's definitely a reach advantage.
You're actually pretty good when it comes to like lore and flavor and stuff and balance. This is not balance. Okay, I think I'm done. I think I'm done riffing on JTAD. I really enjoy JTAD. I don't want him to think
go back to card art. Don't collect 5,000 gold.
Yeah, go back to card art and maybe the stranger can get back into the card design game. Make stranger some card art. He'd appreciate it. Or go into the Dia game and make some card art and share it with people, and then people think of really clever stuff with your art, like Doragon Guandao or whatever. There's some thoughts. So yeah, this was a good week. We're gonna try and get back on the train of having some regular guests, because you guys like that. I think you guys like that. Like and comment. But yeah. Good week, pretty interesting. I'm seeing people get more creative and branch more out more in this new year, so that's a good resolution. Thank you very much, Grief and Empty, for joining me.
It was fun to be here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, comment, and subscribe, and remind me why I'm doing this. Just write, here's why you're doing this, stranger, in the comment, and then I'll read that comment. And keep on playing collective, keep on voting on cards. Bye.